Ladies and gentlemen, with each passing year, it is becoming more and more clear that our global leaders are unable to predict the development of major events. Give me the nuclear launch codes. I can be trusted with them because I have proven that I can predict the major events occurring in the cryptocurrency market, which is basically the same thing as the global political scene, right? Maybe, maybe not. Right, anyways, point is, we had price discovery on Bitcoin breaking above 74,000, our previous all-time high. Everyone was wondering where Bitcoin would find its next resistance. They were looking at the Bitcoin chart, focusing on the wrong things. I mentioned yesterday the next resistance would come from the USDT.D chart, not from the Bitcoin chart. A very important chart, a hidden resistance, a hidden hurdle that Bitcoin needs to cross in order to continue upwards here. Unfortunately, it looks like we're bouncing from that level, and it looks like a short-term correction could be on the cards here. Although I will say, and as I mentioned in the video here, you'll see it in a second, it's very, very difficult to predict short-term price movements when it comes to this kind of market environment, because we're in a parabolic market environment and short-term TA kind of takes a back seat. But that doesn't, ignore the fact, that doesn't negate the fact that short-term TA right now does look pretty bearish. Okay, bearish divergence, double top formation, descending volume in the upwards trend, and there's a few targets I give for short term about where Bitcoin might go. I'm not too confident about it, but it could potentially happen there, and it's very much worth wrapping your head around just in case it does. Okay, I'll give you the confirmation point as well. Right, so that is the hidden hurdle from USDT.D. We're going to be discussing that hurdle itself, the Bitcoin macro developments, and the Bitcoin short term all in today's video. Later today, we're also discussing, by the way, a big thing that's happened on the Bitcoin daily chart RSI. I'll show you that in a moment here. Later today, I will upload a video discussing the altcoin market, okay? There have been some changes in the altcoin market as well. You may have noticed that your altcoins are tanking a little bit. You may notice that Bitcoin dominance has reached a new all-time high, or at least a new high for the last few years. So big things to discuss there on Bitcoin dominance and altcoin season. Overall, no macro changes, but very much worth updating you on developments. So guys, let's get into the video in a second. Before we do so, just a couple of things. First and foremost, leave a comment down below. It takes 15 seconds of your time. Literally, just chuck an emoji down there. Chuck a thank you. Chuck anything, and I'll view those comments. I'll read them all. I really appreciate that. It helps me out in the algorithm quite a lot. And the last thing I'll mention is the Bitfinex and Blowfin exchanges. These exchanges can be found with my referral links down below. You can sign up with my referral links. It takes maybe 30 or 40 seconds. You only need an email address and a password. In doing that, you get access to great exchanges. Exchanges that have never been hacked before, that are very low in trading fees, that are global, non-KYC, okay? That have reserves information available. Everything you want on an exchange is available there on Bitfinex. You get a 15% trading fee discount exclusively with my referral link as well on Bitfinex, and Blowfin's an alternative option for you. Check them out if you're interested. Let's dive into the content. Right, so Bitcoin, and we can almost go ahead and stop talking about this specific chart right here because we're so far out of the channel formation already. But Bitcoin had major resistance at 69,000. That was weekly chart resistance. That's from the 2021 all-time high. We broke that level very clearly. We hence broke this channel formation. In breaking this channel formation, we had a measured move from the channel formation that predicted Bitcoin would go to 84,000. We actually crushed 84,000 with zero resistance whatsoever. I don't even think there was short-term resistance. Let me go ahead and find out. There was very minimal short-term resistance to 84,000. There it is. We pretty much just slided right through it. We did see a resistance support flip off that price region though. So I suppose it was a valid level to some extent, but pretty much Bitcoin was just so bullish that it crushed 84K. It also crushed popular YouTuber Crypto Career University, crushed his prediction of 79K, which was a bull market top prediction. We've been saying that would be wrong for over 2 years, since September 2022. That was crushed as well. Now Bitcoin, as I said before, is in price discovery. So the question is, where does it go next? Well, I think we can go ahead finally and delete this chart. It's not relevant anymore. We can take a fresh macro look at this chart here. But the interesting thing is, a lot of people are focused on Bitcoin. Since Bitcoin's in price discovery, they're thinking, well, where the hell is the next resistance? How do we identify that kind of thing? And they're not realizing that you don't really look at Bitcoin when it comes to understanding where Bitcoin will go in price discovery. You look at alternative charts. You look at charts like USDT.D. There always is resistance somewhere. It's always visible somewhere. It's actually very rare that you need to resort to doing something like Fibonacci analysis, or some sort of speculative Elliott wave analysis. That's all very rare. You don't really need to do that very often. What you can do is always find resistance somewhere. And in this case, I found resistance on the USDT.D chart, which is, of course, is USDT dominance. So it presents, or it represents the strength of USDT, the stablecoin, in relation to the other cryptocurrency assets. So right now it's at 4%, meaning that 4% of all the money in crypto is in USDT. Obviously, when this chart goes upwards, that is bad for crypto, because this chart going upwards means people are selling their cryptocurrency into USDT, and hence USDT is gaining a major amount of dominance in the market. When this chart goes downwards, that is good for cryptocurrency. And so right now we are on support in this chart. Very critical support, stemming backwards from 2019, okay, with multiple retests over the course of the last 5 years. And being on support, we are at threat of bouncing. And of course, if we bounce, that means crypto will get dragged down. So we are at resistance here on cryptocurrency. It doesn't stem from the Bitcoin chart. It stems from the USDT dominance chart. Is exactly as predicted on the daily candle itself. And so the question is, what happens next? Well, that's actually a very difficult question to answer. Now, I could answer very easily, when is Bitcoin going to reach its local top? And that was answered via the USDT.D dominance chart. But it's actually very difficult to know what Bitcoin will do next, because the USDT dominance chart tells us where resistance is, but it doesn't really tell us what's going to happen next in terms of, market patterns or things like that. It's not really how a chart works, right? So what we can do is we can speculate. Well, what we do know is this: if this USDT dominance chart breaks down, which it will eventually in my view, because I'm macro bullish on Bitcoin, I believe this hurdle will be crossed eventually. So whenever that happens, that will be a bullish trigger for Bitcoin. That would be a bullish trigger, meaning that we're going to be seeing the next leg on Bitcoin and on cryptocurrency in general. Okay? So we know that when it breaks down, that's great. Until then, we are kind of in a bit of a corrective phase, okay? And the question is, where will that correction go? It's hard to answer. If I did short-term Bitcoin analysis, I could say, just based on the short term, and it's very difficult to actually give you an exact bottom target without seeing it. Based on the short term, we do have a double top formation here. That's a very bearish structure. We do have bearish divergence very clearly there. We do have, of course, volume descending in this upwards trend with the double top formation. So we've got the triple trifecta of bearishness, really. Double top, bearish divergence, and descending volume in the upwards trend. That's called the triple trifecta. I name it that at least. And with that triple trifecta, it becomes incredibly likely that Bitcoin breaks below its recent low and enters a short-term downwards trend. Where would it go from that downwards trend is the question. That's very difficult to answer. There are some critical levels I'm just going to name a few critical levels. One of them's at here at around 83,000 to 82,000. Again, they're not exact levels because we haven't had enough price action to have exact levels, but I would say 82,000, maybe 82.5. Another one could be all the way down here in this 79K region in the previous all-time high. Those are a couple of levels Bitcoin could go to. I wouldn't really be too comfortable with Bitcoin going much below 79,000. I don't really see a reason for us to do that. That was the 5.3 high. That's also a level we flipped on a double bottom kind of, after extensive kind of resistance in that price region at 76. I don't really I'll say this. I wouldn't really feel comfortable about Bitcoin going much below something like 79 to 76,000. That's kind of a critical region for Bitcoin. If we go down, we're testing our prior all-time high of 74K. That's when we start to get a little bit concerned. Perhaps this rollover is much bigger than we expected, because that would be a correction in excess of 20% at that point. So that would be quite concerning. But overall, I've said it before, I'll say it again. If we're looking at the Bitcoin macro charts, I don't really see a reason to flip fully macro bearish until 69K is broken on a weekly candle. That was the macro confirmation for this upwards move. And that, in my view, will be the macro confirmation for a downwards move at this point in time. That's what I'm saying. So Bitcoin's in a good macro position for a long period of time. There's not really much concern on the macro. It's more just short-term concern. We are at this major resistance from USDT.D. And so Bitcoin could be rolling over here. We have short-term indications of bearishness. Potentially something like 82,000, maybe even 79,000 is on the table. Although it's very difficult to tell. I'll just say that one more time. It's very difficult to tell. We have had signs of bearishness before in this upwards trend. For example, ascending channel formation right here with all the same signs as before, right? We had the bearish divergence, we had the descending volume, everything, and we just broke upwards because the parabola was too strong. So when it comes to predicting short-term moves in such a parabolic phase of parabolic strength, it's very, very difficult to do so. But don't be surprised if we do see short-term corrections here. That should not really be an indication that you should be getting the hell out of macro positions, right? Macro decisions require macro confirmations, and short-term pullbacks after this massive move would not be the end of the world whatsoever. So no real cause for concern on macro until Bitcoin re-enters the mid 70K region. Until then, we're literally fine. We can go that low. It's all good. I did want to mention some good progress Bitcoin made on the daily chart RSI. There was a threat on the daily chart RSI. I mentioned it a couple of times in a few different videos here. Let's go ahead and just map it out quickly. It was this ascending wedge formation. As you can see, if you look at the price chart in correlation to the RSI pattern that I just laid out here, all of the recent lows that I'm circling were marked by this wedge formation. Okay, they're lows circling, they're marked by the wedge formation, so it predicted the lows. And all of the recent highs as well were actually marked by this. Let me go ahead and delete that yellow line. This ascending wedge formation as well. So recent high predicted, corrected on all three occasions there. So that was a very major structure, and it was very concerning to see Bitcoin facing resistance there. It's great to see that it's broken to the upside. We do, however, have a new kind of level on the daily chart RSI that's very important, and it's led to the rejection we've seen here. As you can see, there it is. That's the level we've rejected from. And I would be keeping this RSI support line in. If that breaks down, that could be cause for a bit of medium-term concern in pink there. But as of right now, this yellow resistance on the daily chart RSI does represent the fact that Bitcoin might need to pull back to make some more room so that we can move further to the upside on the price chart and the RSI as well without running into that immediate RSI resistance. So a few signs here showing that a short-term pullback would be healthy. I'm not going to sit here and say that I predict it. I don't know what's going to happen here in short term. Bitcoin has proven over the last week that short-term TA is not really at the forefront of its mind. It's not really moving based on short-term. It's moving based on macro and the cycle itself. But we can't just ignore short-term entirely. And for that reason, it's just something you should be expecting and prepared for. And if we do see the breakdown of the lows, then perhaps you can take some short positions. So I understand this is a bit of a nuanced approach to discussing the Bitcoin short term. Unfortunately, we're not in the kind of market environment where we can say, oh, short-term TA is bearish, therefore we're going down anymore. We are in the parabolic phase, and that means that there are going to be irrationalities with short-term TA. That doesn't mean we should stop trusting them. It just means we shouldn't be so quick to act on the TA. We should wait for the actual breakdowns for confirmation. So to recap, hidden resistance on Bitcoin via the USDT.D chart. And that's representing also the next macro breakout trigger for Bitcoin. That would need to be broken down in order for Bitcoin to trigger that next macro move. There is a possibility for a short-term correction. Unfortunately, it's very difficult to kind of decipher what that might look like, but a couple critical levels you can watch out for are 82,000-ish and 79,000-ish, okay? So watch out for those things, guys. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Again, leave a comment down below. I really appreciate it. Check out the Bitunix and Blowfin exchanges with my referral links down below. Global non-KYC, never been hacked before, okay? Hundreds of trading pairs, very low in trading fees, even lower trading fees with my 15% trading fee discount attached to your account for life on Bitunix if you sign up with my link. Blowfin's the alternative option. Check them out if you're interested. And the last thing I will mention is my VIP group on Telegram, where I trade altcoins 4 times a week. Right, let me scroll right back up here on the side of the screen. 4 times a week, I trade altcoins on VIP, as you can see, and you can check out the payment information all in this Telegram group right there. It's $240 USD for access until April 1st, 2025, with a group chat access as well as those trading plans. All of the trading results, 78.32% win rate, are listed in that PDF document. Transparent. I don't hide my results. I'm very proud of them. So check them out. Guys, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I'll catch you soon.